back to the Real Men of Real Estate here on KCAA Radio. I'm your host, Dan Redig, here today with Janice Bell talking about how to fund your real estate investments, not necessarily with your own money or with money you didn't know you had. So, Janice, thanks for being here. The whole conversion of 401ks, and I guess we can talk about HSAs later, to self-directed so you can invest as you see fit is fascinating. What's next, or who do I work with? How can I do that?
Okay, awesome. So you do have to pick a company that's like a custodian for your account. And there's a lot of different companies around that do that. Like I said, you don't hear about it on Wall Street because, you know, the main Wall Street companies, the Fidelities, the Vanguards, the Schwabs, they want to collect their fees for stocks. So when you choose a self-directed company, there's some criteria you might want to go through, and I'm not going to tell you what works for you, but you might want to look at how big or small the company is. One is how many assets do they have under management? So these kind of things would be on their website, about us pages. You know, is it how many millions or billions of dollars do they have in their accounts? Years in business. The other one I like to look at is what time zone are they in? Because when you submit paperwork, they're going to review the investment you want to make according to the IRS rules, and they're going to the rules specific to your IRA. It's going to take them about 3 days. So their cutoff point in general is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the countdown comes for 3 business days after that, or some say 3 to 5. And
interesting. So the IRS is actually regulating that.
No, these are the companies saying that it takes that long for us to review your investment to make sure it complies with the IRA rules as they're written. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. And to make sure that, you know, everything that you submitted. So you're submitting what you want to invest in, and then you're submitting a direction of investment letter to them that gives the name of the investment, your account, how much you want to put in, where the money's going to be wired to, sort of all that information. So they're reviewing that for compliance. And so if there's a 3 o'clock deadline, if it's in your time zone, it's great. But say we're on the West Coast and we pick an East Coast company, so the deadline is really noon. So you've kind of almost added an extra day to, you know, what if you get it in at 12:05? You've added an extra day to the time it takes for the money to get dispersed.
So you might miss a deadline, not even know you're going to miss it.
Right, of a purchase. You know, say you're trying to get it's escrow because you're lending money for someone to buy a property. You want to make sure you have more time. So
that'd be oh man, don't delay their escrow. Got it.
Right, I tend to like things in my time zone. Let's see. Oh, so that, you know, we're talking a little bit about what you do if you're employed by someone, but we do know a lot of people that are self-employed and have their own business. So another option for you is when you set up a retirement account, if you're self-employed for yourself, you can set up accounts called SEP, or one's called Simple. And those accounts are retirement accounts within your business. And which one you choose depends on if you have employees or not. So if it's just you and a spouse, you have one account.
Simple.
Yeah, the Simple, or then the SEP. So there's a couple of different rules around that. So you got to pick the one that's best for you. Those, because you're going to a provider to open that account, those are really automatically self-directed because you are the employer. So you don't have to worry about moving it into one. If you own your own business and have a retirement account associated with it, by design, those are already self-directed. So you can just invest whatever money you're putting in. And as the employer and employee, your limits of what you can put in per year are much higher than they are for a 401k.
So
do I have advantages of that?
If I want to get a self-directed fund of some kind, do I have to open a company or register an LLC or something along these lines, some kind of corporate structure to do self-directed?
Oh, no. If you're going to do a self-directed, if you're going to do it for yourself, you can just put your money into your IRA, and your IRA can fund those different deals. You don't need a company. You might be lending to someone who has an LLC.
Sure.
But you don't have to, and you can't lend to your own. Let's put it that way, Dan.
Yeah.
You can't lend to your own LLC because that is a prohibited transaction.
I see.
So you're prohibited from investing in your own investments. And there's also a number of people that are disqualified from you investing. Like you can't invest in people up and down your family line. Like you can't invest in your mom's real estate
So,
or
okay,
your
immediate
kids' real
family
estate.
is restricted. Okay.
Now it's a little not, but you can invest sideways with siblings
Okay.
and cousins and aunts and uncles, the ones you have the least influence over.
I see.
Like if you had a fight with them, whatever, but we often have influence on our parents and our kids. And so
Certainly.
they don't want you investing with them. You can invest with your spouse if you both go in at the same time. Like you could do 50% of your IRA and 50% of a spouse's IRA, as long as you go in at the same time. Because you have undue influence over those people, you can't go in and save yourself, which would be, oh, this isn't going well, let me put more money into it. You can't do that because that's not technically an investment. That's a run your own business. So that's why they review these documents to figure out who's running the investment and how you're putting the money in. So it's a lot of people say, well, they would love what's called the checkbook IRA.
I've heard of that. Yeah. What is
that's
that?
Great if you're experienced. And I would say open an account with a company, run your self-directed company, run a few deals through that. So you start to see what it is you can and cannot do. Because the people running those companies go to lots of meetings and have a lot of education behind them on what's acceptable. And so it's best if you learn from that before you do the checkbook. So the checkbook IRA is really helpful, but you're determining whether you should do something or not. You can use it for flips because you have to pay a lot of people when you do a flip. And a lot of people use it for tax lien sales or foreclosure auctions because you need the money that day. You can't wait 3 days for them to review your investment.
Okay.
That's why those are
faster
specific.
moving, but much riskier.
Yeah.
All right. So if I'm going to get a self-directed fund and I'm going to go and do this, I've picked out someone to work with, a custodian who's going to keep me from running afoul of the IRS and other laws. Now what?
Oh, now what? So now you're going to look, well, probably before you move the money, you've already thought about what you want to invest into.
Yeah.
Two of the most simple things are lending money to someone else's project. And that's the cleanest way to do it because really you have no expenses except you send the money. And then when they're done with the project, they send the money back or they're sending in a dividends. Like one of the ones we've invested in, a syndication in Houston, where we get a quarterly payment and it goes directly to the IRA. The only way I know that we got it is I have to log in and see.
You have to log in and look in your brokerage. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't send anything to me except an email saying notification. They're not allowed to send it to me because I can't take possession of that money. I would say if you don't have an old 401k and you're not self-employed, the easiest thing to set this thing up is to go directly to your local bank or credit union and just open an IRA or a Roth account and start having money automatically sent there from your checking account. Because think about when you said, what do I invest in? In order to get started, you should really have at least $10,000. And if you're not going to put that in, I mean, you're only limited to, in a traditional, I think it's right around now, 6,000 a year plus an extra 1,000 if you're over 50.
I believe that's right.
So you don't really have enough to invest yet. So if you're going to take 2 years to do it, just do it at a bank account at a bank that has no fees at all.
Okay. So they're a low cost custodian effectively. They make it real easy on you.
Yeah. We just did one when we were starting a Roth. We just had it automatically deducted from our checking account. Once we got to a balance that was reasonable to invest, then we moved it into a self-directed.
I see.
What people don't realize, your employer was paying your 401k to get it set up, or they know they're making money when you buy these stocks because they're getting fees from the mutual funds. You just don't see the fees.
Yeah.
So when you go to self-directed, it's all on the table. It's all in front of you. They collect a fee, either a yearly fee to maintain the account in a couple $100, or they have a fee for every time you make an investment because now they're reviewing the documents and they're
Mhm.
wiring it out. They're actually doing work, so which they need to get paid for to maintain the company. So, but at least now the fees are transparent. You can see them.
Right. Okay. So that's the kind of the simple version of the plan to get started. And so I've saved up $10,000 and in my account, I'm ready to go. I can convert to a self-directed
Mhm.
and now I'm an investor. I
Eh,
got to find it. I got to go
You have
find
to
a
find a
deal.
deal, right? You have to find a deal. So one thing to think about when you said I have exactly that amount, we used to keep a certain amount of money in for our yearly fees. But the law allows you to pay the fee from outside of your account. So
Oh,
say
okay.
you have exactly 10,000 and that's your investment, that's what's going to go.
You don't have to touch your principal.
You are allowed to pay that like automatically with a credit card. You know, your $295 a year can just be auto debited from your credit card. No problem with that.
Okay. Is there any other gotchas or things to kind of look out for while I'm setting this up?
Um, okay, if you have like part of it's Roth and part of it's traditional, you'd have to open both accounts at first and then you could roll it in. So say it was you had a little bit in traditional and mostly Roth, you're going to put the money directly into both accounts and then roll it from the traditional into the Roth, pay the tax for that year, and then shut down that traditional account. So you still end up with one account in the
Okay.
IRA. If you have a lot in both, I'd say keep both open. And I'll get
All
into
right.
a little bit later, like why you want to move money to your Roth.
Well, we'll talk more about that after these messages. Thanks for being here, Janice.